game about being an IT specialist. Having worked previously as an ISP technician, you pick up a lot of things in IT, and generally speaking, you kind of have to be a jack of all trades, and that's the idea of an IT specialist. You've got to be a jack of all trades, right? Got to know a little bit about operating systems. Got to know a lot about BIOSes. You got to know about printers. You got to know about networking. All of these lovely things that make IT so great. So I have played this a little bit before, just messing around. You can see my name there. Just trying it out. But yeah, we're just going to start a new game, and we're going to start it normal with a tutorial and everything. So I'm just going to call it my name again. No problem there. And I'll just stick with a avatar. Let's see. I like this one, but I think I'll go with this one because it's got a beanie. All right, fantastic. So basically, in this game, you get different difficulties, all of these things. It depends what's hidden, what's not hidden, what tips you get, so on and so forth. So if we're really struggling, we could, generally speaking, fulfill some of these things. So I'm going to do a full-time run on this for every day, so to speak. Yeah, let's just create a game and get playing, should we? Right, got an alarm, and we need to wake up and get out of bed. Fantastic. Ugh. Good morning, everybody. So generally in the tutorial, you can't move around unless you follow the previous tutorial. So let's look left, let's look right. See the text going green there. To move, WASD. Crouch is left control. Stand up is left control. And to interact is E. So we go over there. Left monitor, right monitor. So this is for dual or multi-monitor setups. All right, run application. We'll open ncpa.cpl. This is the network manager. So ncpa.cpl basically takes you to a control panel of sorts with network configuration. And we need to change the Ethernet properties, so to speak. So let's go over to Internet Protocol version 4. Of course, this is IPv4. IPv4, of course, being 192.168.something.something or 192.something.something. You can even have a 10.something.something.something. Okay, so it doesn't really matter. But the general format is there's 4 slots for your IP address. And yeah, we need to just configure it to what is set above. So 192.168.10.1. That should be our gateway, and for our physical IP address of the computer itself, it needs to fit within that gateway. So let's do that, 192.168.10, and instead of 70, let's do .3, because it's a good general practice that you avoid, your .2s and your .1s. .1s, of course, need to be avoided because it's your default gateway. And just generally speaking, it's a good standard practice. Don't worry too much about subnet masks right here. 255.255.255.0 is fine. We'll do 192.168.10.1. There we go. So this is our subnet, so to speak. We are on the .10 subnet. If this changes, it puts us on a different subnet, which isolates our network a little bit. And we can do some pretty cool networking stuff regarding it. So now, since this IP address falls within 192.168.10.1 on the subnet mask of 255.255.255.0, we'll be able to actually connect to the internet, so to speak, because our IP config is correct according to what the router wants. So as you can see there, this just went on, and we've got Ethernet connected right there. Beautiful. So now we got to take a look at a job offer that interests us. Let's go over to Jobly. So we open up a browser, go to Jobly, click on Browse Job Offers. And yeah, we got a couple of things popping up here. Let's do warehouse worker. Sure. The general thing when it comes to IT is you just apply for jobs until you get a job, and then eventually you move over into IT. So since this doesn't really interest us, we're just gonna close our browser, and it's prompting us to play a little bit of Voxelcraft. Of course, this being the Minecraft equivalent within the game. So we can jump, we can move around, and we can, of course, remove blocks. There we go. And move that block there, all the way to the bottom. The computer isn't the only thing you can interact with. Go to the living room, sit on the couch. So first of all, good practice. Exit out, move away from the computer by pressing E. So let's head on over to the couch and look at the TV. Now, the interesting part is you can't watch TV if you just stand in front of the TV when it comes to this game. You actually have to walk to the couch because there's a cool little animation that shows you sitting down like that. Turn it on using P, and now we're just going to watch a little bit of TV. So there's just a little time limit that happens here, and then it's going to prompt us to go check Jobly again. There we go. Check the website Jobly. So, of course, turn off your electronics after you use them. Of course, the exception when it comes to that would be this computer over here. So let's go over here, go back to the browser, Jobly, show office. Okay, now we need to check the IT category. So let's click on that category, and haha, we have a junior IT service. Pays well, pays okay. And yeah, it's a general application. So let's submit that. Now we've completed the basic tutorial. It's going to give us a list of tasks to do in order to actually connect our things to the internet and to get set up for this job. So let's press continue and let's walk into work. Fantastic. So there we go. Your first job in IT. This could be a great experience or maybe not. We'll see. Press enter to continue there. It's worth knowing where things are in the company. Open the map to see where you are. Let's press M. So welcome to the map. This is a building plan. And if you hover your mouse over specific green blocks, it tells you exactly what it is. The warehouse, computers, the corridor access points, etc. And if you click and drag, you can move around the map pretty much. So we've got a warehouse, we've got an HR room, an IT room, the server room, small corridor, got the office, we've got the kitchen, and yeah, then we have over here where the lockers are. So we hover over this one just to make sure. And now we need to go to that locker. Okay, so now we press M and we go over to this locker. You can also shift to sprint. Luckily, there's no other NPCs here as of yet. So we open up this locker by pressing E and then we go into the locker. Very, very interesting. Nothing in here. And whatever we find around the office, especially things like Ethernet cables or patch cables, whatever it might be, we need to chuck it into this inventory before we leave. Otherwise, it counts as thievery. Very, very interesting. So let's press enter there. Let's close out of this by pressing I, and then we look at the door to close the door. Fantastic. Let's head on over to the IT room, which is out here and to the left. As you can see, we've got a little keycard scanner here. General warehouse. We've got an AP over there. Some computer monitors and things going on over here. We walk in, there's another access point. This little kitchen, of course, you know, for break times. You can open up the utility closet, check what's going on in here. There's a small desk with a burger on it. Where else? Every single one of these doors you can open and go into. So this is the HR room. Take a look there. We've got the office, which has got cubicles, 2 people. On this side, 1 person here, 1 person here, another printer over here, small little manager section over there, and another computer over here. So there's all of the workstations for the office. Of course, we got cameras as well, which we'll get into. And of course, a blocked off elevator. So we go into here. This is our domain. This is our office, right? We've got a little switch cabinet up here. We've got our computer right here. This is our computer. This is what we will use. Okay, so this is your office. You're in charge here, but only on the 2nd shift. Your senior colleague takes the morning shift. Since that's when most of the failures happen and he has the experience, well, you're just the rookie. Okay, it's all good. We're fine. We're not too bad. Most of the issues happen with the senior technician, and he takes care of it on the 1st shift. We then come in and handle anything that trickles out of that. Okay, so let's configure the network on our tablet. So we press T, and we can see here that we've got a little tablet popping up. We go over to settings, Wi-Fi, and we can see there's a PTS local Wi-Fi network. We open that up, and we're going to say PEEP is the EAP method. Authentication step 2 would be MSChapV. Identity is user. And the password would be this up here. So melon pink exclamation mark 2025. Melon pink exclamation mark 2025. Okay. We want to go over to advanced options. We configure the proxy automatically, but the PAC address https://storage.wiki.lan/wpad.bat. And there we go. We can click connect. Ah, I misspelled there. That's why. wpad.dat. There we go. Now it's connecting and we're on Wi-Fi. You can see that little icon over there. So to close any app on the tablet, we just click this button over there and we're back on the home screen. Beautiful. So now, next thing we need to do is we have to go over to the computer. So of course, to close the tablet, we just press T again. And let's use the computer. So we turn it on by pressing P. And it's not just a regular workstation. It has a server. So some of the stuff in the company can only be accessed while this computer is running. So I recommend whenever you start a day in this game, come over to this computer and just start it up. Before you even accept any tasks or anything, which we will see shortly, start up the computer because there's a server running on it. Okay. So let's move on with the tutorial, shall we? Okay, we already turned it on. This is your little command center, but here you can manage the entire company. Let's go over to Wiki Storage on the browser. Now notice we don't have a browser shortcut on the desktop. I'll show you guys how to organize that later. Let's just open the app menu, go to browser. We want to go over to Wiki Storage and notice page not found. Yeah, because we need to enable a VPN. The headquarters is in Germany and we're trying to access them directly. So we can't right now because we're not on their local network virtually. So we're going to close out to this browser and we're going to open this Fasco One Connect. We're going to click on connect, right? And now it's connected. So you see here connected to VPN.storage, approve login request. Now, if you're ever familiar with Google Authenticator, this would seem very, very interesting to you because as soon as you open it, same story, enter that number and press yes. There we go. Okay. And there we go. As you can see, officially connected. Since this is already finished, right? We've already skipped those couple of steps. I'm a little bit too quick for it. We can just exit there, go back to the computer, and notice that the VPN is open. Now, this does not need to stay open. You can actually close this window. It runs in the background. So that's completely fine. We need to now reopen the browser, okay, and go back to Wiki Storage. So here is where the magic happens, okay? We've got the about information about the developers. We've got network addressing. We've got locations and their specific details. And then we've got procedures. So what we want to do, we want to go over to procedures and just start downloading each and every single one of these. Okay, so we're going to click, 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 and click. Okay, notice some of them are larger, some of them are smaller. This gets very, very important later on. I haven't played this game for too much, so I'm not spoiling quite a bunch. But if we go over to our downloads folder by clicking this button here, notice that we can't actually access these files. Well, just like in real life, what we need is an application to understand PDFs, right? So we want to left click on one of these files. Let's do password for organization. Just like in Windows, we've got to browse apps in the application store or select an application to open this PDF file. We could do it with Notepad, but it's not going to be accurate. So let's browse the apps. Immediately search for the right thing, PDF reader. And now what we want to do is we want to install it. Key factor of this is you can have something happening on one of those workstations and just press E and exit out the workstation, right? And it'll still update live. I don't know if you can see there, installing, getting all of that done. There we go. Now let's just access that again and create a shortcut on the desktop. Ease of access. Okay. We're back inside of the folder and let's open that again. Now we've got an actual PDF reader and it works, right? Not too difficult. So we can use forum help. We can use all of these different aspects through the wiki and through those applications, right? If you ever struggle to do something in this game, you can just use forum help. But now that we've sorted this out, we've got all of our documentation in order to set up our systems correctly, all right? One thing that I have to mention is TubeLife, Minecraft Clicker, and Pixel Clicker RPG. We can just delete those. You right click and click on delete, just like you would on your regular computer. Funny thing about this game is dragging and dropping doesn't happen. Okay, you can drag and drop a window, but you can't drag and drop a file. Okay, that's one thing to keep in mind. Now that we've done that, we can open up the Mail app right over here and check the tasks category. We have a simple task here, as always. First task is always the easiest. Hi, can you set my wallpaper and system colors to something orange? I really like that color. Okay, beautiful. Very easy task, very simple to understand. Now, critical incidents are events that require immediate intervention and repair. Usually the service level agreement for such an incident is 4 or 6 hours. Every single one of these tasks are split up in importance, okay, and priority, as well as the type. In addition to critical incidents, you may also encounter tasks with high, medium, low priority, as well as service requests. It's important now not to exceed the time we have to resolve a task. If you exceed the time, the reward for completing a task will be reduced by a penalty. Very easy to understand, okay? It's a lot to get when you first open the game. It took me a little bit, but it's okay. You know, it's fine. We'll see what that means just now. So, however, if you don't complete the task before the end of the shift, when it's already overdue or only 1 hour remains to finish it, you will still receive a penalty. So if you've got an active task that's still got time left on it and it's the end of the shift, you still receive a penalty at the end of the day. All right, now let's open up the task window. So usually in a game, the pause menu is escape, right? Not in this game. In this game, if you press escape, it gives you your task window, and that opens up the task. So usually when you have opened up a bunch of tasks in your email list, you'll see them on the left-hand side. I don't recommend opening up an email on the task bar in your mail unless you're ready to have it inside of this list, because it does not add it to this list if you don't open the email. That's how you can avoid some penalties. Okay, so as you can see here, you have several pieces of information such as the problem description, which is over here, the device owner, IP address and location, that's over here, remaining time to complete the task, that's over here, and information about the reward and penalty. So these are the awards, these are the penalties if you were to get them. Basic layout. You can also get help if you get lost. Click the yellow light bulb in the upper right corner of the screen to learn more. So only when there's about 70% of time left, this is one thing they don't mention straight out of the tutorial. If there's 70% of the time left to complete this specific task, if you have it on either normal or easy mode, you can click on this little button and it'll show you exactly what you need to do. We'll try not to use that, or if we need to use it, we'll use it as sparingly as possible. Things get significantly more difficult the more you move forward with it. So now we need to find the computer from the ticket on the map. Before we do that, I'm actually going to click on select device. What that does, if I select device, I'm just going to press E to exit that window, is it highlights the exact computer where it is. That's one thing they don't tell you. If I press on M and I go over to the office, I now need to find that specific person. Until I find that person, this will not go green. Make sense? Sweet. So now we've got this little thing here. Can run over here. Here's the computer. We enter it by pressing E, as you can say. P to press on the computer. Notice it says HDMI 1. Another cool thing about this game is it actually has like monitors that have sources and settings and things. So this is actually, that can be a task itself. Let's log into this person's profile. Luckily, we don't need to remember any passwords or anything like that. This person wants something orange, right? Let's double check by pressing escape. Wallpaper and system colors to something orange. Okay, no problem. We'll do that for you. Let's open the application manager, go to settings, personalization, and we'll start with the wallpaper. Bang, wallpaper is set. Let's press escape. Notice it's green. Now we want to do the next thing. We're going to set the taskbars and system utilities to orange. And we press escape again. Bang, finished. Marker's done. Task is finished. Voila. Now remember, it's important when it comes to other employees' computers, shut it down when you're done with it. We won't just be doing that. So if we go over to our computer and open the browser, what it's now going to show us is we can actually go to specific IP addresses. What I usually do to keep things clean and not being confused by all of my tasks, I actually delete what I have completed. Okay, so now that's empty. Let's go over to the browser, and it's going to prompt us to go to a specific IP address. 192.168.45.1. Notice this is a gateway IP. Very, very interesting. And this specific gateway IP, if you search it, takes you to the main router. Some devices have their own web interface. When you enter the IP address of a device on the network, you'll see the system that device runs. Devices you connect to include office printers, network devices, servers, recorders, monitoring, cameras, and more. A lot of different stuff there. Search forum help to find the default password for the router. If you already know it, just type it in. Now, what they mean by forum help, since I'm on my main computer, I can just show you. It's actually those files that I spoke about, right? If you go over to your downloads folder, so your files are over here. Click on that, go to your downloads folder. These documents that we've downloaded are the forum help. To find the password for the router, so if we go to password for organization, we can see here that the switch, router, and access point passwords and logins are admin, admin. In real life, this would never be like this. Never. But let's use that. So admin, and then I'm just going to hit tab to go to the next one. You can also just click on the next field, admin again, and I'll press on the login button. And now we are in the router. As you can see, there are several tabs here. The router in our company is an SD-WAN router, so it has two connections. One is a fixed line ISP connection, and the other one is an LTE module. The router switches to LTE in case of issues with the fixed line. If you don't know what an LTE module is, an LTE module is simply a SIM card slot. It's basically a router that you can take around wherever you like, and it usually has a battery attributed to it, okay? That SIM card that is placed within that router is connected to a specific service provider. This can be Vox Telecom, this can be whoever you have as your cell phone provider that provides this little SIM card. As long as that SIM card has data, or if you've subscribed to a data package for that SIM card, that LTE router will have internet. Now keep in mind, this is specifically wireless internet, so it's not as good as a fixed line being a direct wire straight to it. It can either be fiber, or it can be a Ethernet cable, whatever it might be, but it's not as fast, okay? Wires are generally faster, and we all know that fiber in 2026 is extremely fast. So that's the difference between the two. Since this is an SD-WAN router, we have both inputs. We can have the main line be fiber or a wire, or we can have LTE. So that means if the fiber is down, LTE is active. If LTE is down and fiber is active, you're not going to see that because fiber is the main WAN. WAN being wide access network. Currently, we are in the process of changing providers and the router is only working on LTE. In the coming days, this will change and a new provider will appear. You'll be informed about this by email. Beautiful. So that'll actually become a task. That's what they mean there. Step away from the computer, then crouch and look at the network sockets on the wall and press the function key. So we're stepping away by pressing E. We're no longer full screen there. And the network sockets they're talking about are right over there. Now, this is another cool thing. These are specifically called network sockets. If it looks like a wall plug, but it has an Ethernet input, like a female Ethernet input to it, that is a network socket. If it's a physical little box that is not set into the wall, like this is right here, then we call it a patch box. Basically what it does is it takes a Ethernet line, a wire, that goes through your walls or through wherever you've got it sent to, and it turns it into a pluggable instance. The reason why people do this is for neatness, number one, and secondly, because it functions well. Nobody can get to your cables and mess up your cables. That's the most important part. The trouble with doing it this way is getting to that cable if that cable broke on the inside of the wall. That's a problem with it. But otherwise, it's a good standard practice to have it like this, similar to a wall socket. So we need to crouch and we need to actually look at it right here. So you see there at the bottom of my screen, it says socket RJ45. RJ45 is specifically referring to an Ethernet cable, whether it be Cat5, Cat6, it doesn't really matter. Cat5, Cat6 depends on the core of the cable itself and how much data it can transmit in a given second. All right. Usually people go for gigabyte speeds these days. That's a pretty much standard right there. And then if you have something like a Cat5e cable, then you can do something called smart PoE, but we're not going to touch that yet. Okay, we're not going to touch power over Ethernet. I'm not even sure if power over Ethernet is even included in this game, but it's very, very interesting. So all that considered, RJ45 refers to the type of tip that the actual cable has. So we go over here. A lot of people call them LAN cables, by the way. I want to make sure everybody watching this knows the difference. LAN cables and RJ45s are two different, okay? LAN cables and Ethernet cables are not the same. When you're talking about a LAN cable, you're talking about a 4-pin cable that was usually used for like telephone lines and stuff. No. Don't call an RJ45 cable or a Ethernet cable a LAN cable. It's not the same thing. Okay, it's not interchangeable. But okay, so it says here, you can disconnect patch cords and replace them. Patch cord referring to the physical cable. Now, you can't see a cable here, but this is highlighted blue. This is highlighted white. This means there's nothing in it. This highlights and shows its connection. So imagine there was a little cable running here from my computer to this wall socket, to this RJ45 socket. So that right there is one cable. This is what they mean by a patch cord. The Americans call them cords. In South Africa, we call them cables. Doesn't really matter. So we can exit this view just by pressing E again. And now we get to take a look at the other factor that's very cool about this game. You can actually connect USB devices. So if you look at the USB ports, if you take a look at those USB ports, you can connect devices to them. So as you can see here, there's like USB port 1, 2, and 3. USB 2.0, USB 2.0, USB 3.0. This refers to the speed of the USB itself. You get old versions of USB that don't transmit data as quickly as newer versions. The latest version as of yet, okay, is USB 3 point something. I think it's like 3.4 or 3.6 by now. Maybe even 3.8, I might be wrong. But if you take a look at any USB port in real life, of course this game won't show it as effectively, but if you take a look at a USB port in real life and the inside of that USB port is black, it's usually USB 2.0. If the inside of that USB port is blue, then it's most likely USB 3.0, which means it's faster. So if you're ever transmitting files from a flash drive to your computer or from your computer to the flash drive, double check that. Similarly, take a look at the inside of the connector of the USB itself and see what color that connector is. Because if you plug a connector that is black into a socket that is black, it's going to work well with each other. But if you plug a USB connector that is black to a blue one, it might not be as efficient. In fact, sometimes it might even confuse itself because it's a slow speed working with a high speed, especially if you're trying to transfer information from your computer to the USB drive in that circumstance. So try and match up your colors in real life when plugging in USBs to the color of the actual socket that your computer has. If you need to upgrade those, there are a lot of upgrade modules available. I know, for example, here in South Africa, a popular website called EveTech, not sponsored, they actually provide these types of modules as well for your cases and so on and so forth. So you can physically do that. Or if you're like me and you're a little bit of a wacko, you can actually solder in new ones. You can just desolder the black ones, solder in some USB 3.0 sockets, and then you're good to go. That's another way you can do it. I don't recommend option 2 if you're not experienced. Okay, so we don't have anything interesting currently going on here, but it's going to prompt us to go over to this table and pick up this USB. Notice the inside of this one is actually also blue. So this is a USB 3.0 pen drive. Let's go back here, take a look at the socket, and we're going to connect it to USB 3. Okay, so we select first the socket or the port, and then the device. Alternatively, we can select, no, it is first the port and then the device. So USB 3, because this one is blue, USB 3, and we connect them. Beautiful. Let's exit out of there and go back to the computer. Might as well close the browser for now. But now, just like a regular computer, go over to your file system. You can see there's a removable disk. And if you click into it, you can add files to this. So it's a usable, removable disk. Very, very lovely. You can also flash OSs to it, that we will do eventually using Hamster. Very, very fun to do it. So we'll just move on after that. If you need to install the system or repair it using the procedures from the wiki and help from forum help, we can do that. So we'll just skip through there. Network sockets and USB ports aren't the only interactions you can perform. Walk over to the rack cabinet, IT room, and press the function key. Now, there's a reason why it's said specifically in the IT room, because there's more than one. If I turn around, this is the rack cabinet. Go over here. Usually in the industry, we used to call it a switch cabinet. So this is physical connectors that are running through the walls. Okay. I haven't gotten to the stage where I mapped all of these out, but it's pretty freaking cool. This is the main switch. Think about a server. Have you ever seen a server in real life? No, most likely not. If you have, awesome. Leave a comment down below and tell us your experience with a server, because I've had some crazy situations with servers. But in any case, taking a look at this, we've got the switch up top, and then we have something called a patch panel. I don't believe it directly references it. Another ticket just came in, go to mail. Fine. Okay, great. We'll do our official task in a little bit. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So we have a switch up top. You can see exactly what's happening, what is active, and what is transmitting data. So green usually means, okay, it's connected. Orange, that flashes, means it's transmitting information. So we know that port 1 is transmitting information. That's this little plug right here. Port 1, makes sense. Port 3 is currently not transmitting any information. Actually, no, it is. So port 3 on this switch is connected to port 2, right? Very, very interesting. We go over to port 2 on the switch. Port 2 on the switch is over here, connected to number 4. Port 3 isn't transmitting any information right now. As you can see, there's no light there. Port 4 also not transmitting any information right now because there's no light there. Port 5, however, is transmitting information. That's over there. We go over to port 6. Port 6 is transmitting info. 7 and 8 have no connections and are also not connected. So we can probably use that for configurations. Don't worry, I just accidentally clicked in there. Fantastic. So port 9 is also transmitting information, and the rest of these are just connections between the desktops, etc. Beautiful. And then, of course, port 39 is usually towards a dish, but that's also PoE. Notice the different color. But in any case, let's take a look at our email and do our first official task. So you can see I've got a bunch of tasks here. Again, like I said, don't open every single one of these. Otherwise, this list is going to get populated. Okay. There we go. Information from another department in Spain. Passwords are very strong and complex. Current wallpaper is already boring. Okay, let's do another wallpaper one. So let's open this one. Okay, a lot of anime. If you can change the wallpaper to an Asian style. Okay, managed to find a wallpaper with a sunset. I'll be very happy. Beautiful. Let's organize that. Problem starting up. Okay, basically I can hear system sound, specifically the sound that plays after the computer boots. I doubt it's the cable because my desk is always tidy. Ooh, this is a multi-step one. Very, very fun. And then problem with TPM. Okay, and I have no idea how to fix it. Will you drop by? Beautiful. Now, since I've opened those 3 tasks, if I go over here, you can see 3 tasks. So black screen, hierarchy mismatch, new wallpaper. Actually, let's take a look at the time span. So critical has a lower time span than high. High has a lower time span than service request. We can wait on the service request. Let's do critical first. Okay. Computer has a problem starting up. Can hear system sounds. Sound that plays after the computer boots. Doubt it's the cable because my desk is always tidy. Okay. This might be simple. So let's select the device and head on over to that computer. So it's over here. Interesting. Black screen. Now, general IT. Okay. First things first. Let's boot it up. First thing you check is what HDMI it's connected to. I don't know if you heard that, but there was a little boot up sound. So let's go check this. Source, HDMI 1, login. Computer works perfectly fine, just the source of the monitor was incorrect. So we're going to mark that as done. Power, shut down. Now, next thing on the board. Hierarchy mismatch detected. Okay, very, very interesting. TPM, very fascinating. So this would require starting up in safe boot mode. So let's move over to that computer. Let's try and find it. Also, my apologies if you hear rain in the background. We'll see. Okay, let's turn on, see what happens. PC ran into a problem, needs to restart. Blue screen of death, I used to call this, because as soon as you finish that 100% completed mark, it shuts it down, doesn't start back up again, right? You can turn it back on, it'll say the same thing again. Okay. This is an interesting problem, because now we need to start the computer in safe mode, right? Let's wait for it just to finish its little percentage thing. There we go. Okay. Since the computer is down again, what we can now do is we can go into here and press F2. Okay. Oh, no, not F2. My apologies. We'll do F8. There we go. F8, boot it in safe mode. If you boot any computer into safe mode, it's going to disable everything other than the necessary things you need to get to the settings. Okay. First thing we want to check out is, okay, do we actually boot? Yes, we do actually boot. Let's log into this account profile. All right. As you can see, there's no desktop, there's no internet connection, there's no connection to anything. And what we need to do is we need to actually open up the event viewer. Okay, so we need to check the event log. So we can do that by running event bwr dot, I believe it's ctl, ctm dot msc. There we go. That's the right one. Okay. Now notice here we've got X's on system, security, app. Of course, apps won't work. Security won't work because we're in safe mode. Application services log, web, all of that will be down. Let's take a look at system. Okay. So we've got a couple pieces of information here. User profile service initiated, successfully applied settings, and we've got critical. So system encountered a fatal error, faulty hardware corrupted page. Okay, very interesting. A corrupted RAM page caused the system to crash. Interesting. Okay, let's take a look at the rest are the same. Okay, system process terminated unexpectedly, and then again the profile service as we started it up. Okay, very, very interesting. So now, as you can see, the next thing is repair the computer, but it doesn't tell you how to repair the computer. And the only way to unlock a hint is when 70% of the task time remains. So let's figure this out, shall we? First things first, what we'll need to do is we'll need to get to the boot menu, because usually if this happens, and if this happens to you in real life, this might actually be a good check to do. Okay, again, be careful with what you do. I don't want to give you the wrong advice. I don't want to tell you exactly how things are working. Every single system is different and every single BIOS is different. But for this instance, we want to get to the BIOS. Okay, and we want to see if something specific, we press F10 to get there. We want to see if something specific under the Advanced tab is enabled. So we want to go to Advanced. We want to go over to Trusted Computing. Okay, and we want to make sure that, there we go, endorsement hierarchy. This is our problem. We need to enable that. So we press enter. Press the up button to enable it. Press escape to save that. Press escape again. But let's just double check before we go. Pending operation is fine. Block SID is fine. That's fine. Okay. This should be everything. Yeah, this should be everything. So now we escape from there. Right button, and exit saving changes. Okay. Now we'll see, can we actually boot into the device after enabling that? So, voila. Now we're able to log into it. And if it starts up normally, gives us a desktop with the little background, we are good. So there we go. Marker's done. That's how you fix TPMs. Beautiful. Again, always remember, power down those devices. Okay. Let's go over to this new wallpaper. This is just a service request, so it has a very, very long time to do it, right? Let's go over there. Select device. Where are you? Right over there. How nice is that, guys? We're fixing computers and we're doing things custom. So lovely. Now, since this is booting up and we're logging in, what is it this person actually wants? So, already boarding, lately watching a lot of anime, change the wallpaper to an Asian style, and if there's a wallpaper with a sunset, they'll be very happy. Okay, not a problem. Let's go over to the system settings, personalization, and scroll down. See. Ooh, we do have a sunset. There's sunrise and sunset. Beautiful. Now that we've done that, we can just mark this one as done. There we are. Thank you for watching this episode of IT Specialist Simulator. If you would like more, hit that subscribe button. We would love to have you. Okay, click on the like button if you find it interesting, if you like any of the explanations that I've mentioned, or if you have IT experience, such as myself, feel free to pop that down into the comment sections below.